Last winter, my now fiancé K, 36 male, was pulled into a conversation with his sister V, 33 female, where she asked him about when he was going to propose to me and asked about his concerns if we were engaged at the same time as her. He told her he wasn't concerned at all, and she thought that was the end of it. Fast forward to that summer, and V gets engaged. We're happy for her and her partner, and we even hosted a family engagement party at our house, where I, 37 female, provided dessert and gifts, giving them a bottle of champagne to take home with them. She left the bottle in her dad's car, and no one did anything about it for weeks, until I happened to be in there and asked if it was forgotten or if I had gotten champagne she didn't like. It disappeared by the next time I was in his car. During the party, she announces that her fiancé in, 33 male, has something he wants to ask K. For years, she told K that he would absolutely be a groomsman in her wedding and that she expected to be a bridesmaid in his. K accepts it, and things go well. She spends the next few months starting her planning and getting things ready. The day before she goes dress shopping with her local bridesmaids, one of them, a single mom, reaches out and tells her that she won't make the dress shopping as her special needs daughter, V's goddaughter, doesn't feel comfortable staying with her dad and his new girlfriend. She asks V if she can bring her daughter, and V says no. V then decides that this bridesmaid is unreliable, talks to her other bridesmaids about removing her from the party, and says that if she can't make the experience about V, then V doesn't want her to be in the party. K, being the respectful brother he is, waits 4 months to propose to me after this, wanting his sister to enjoy her spotlight. He buys the ring, has my dad's blessing, and has even planned the engagement party for the day he was going to propose, and my family has bought tickets to fly to us and celebrate the happy occasion. He did all this, and I was completely in the dark. Well, he talks to his family to plan how and where and see if they want to be involved. His dad and other sister are thrilled for him. Then he tells V. She becomes livid, telling him if he proposes will be the biggest betrayal of their relationship. He is taking away from her spotlight, and if he has any love for her, he will wait until after she gets married to propose to me. If he doesn't, he'll be as good as dead to her. K is an amazing man, loving, considerate, loyal, and so many more things. He comes to me a few weeks before he planned to propose and tells me about the conversation. He's lost and unsure of what to do. He doesn't want to lose his sister, but allowing her to tell us when we could get engaged doesn't sit well either. We spent maybe 5 days looking at this every way we could. In the end, we decided to go forward with his plan and choose our story on our terms. V blows up. She screams and yells, telling him how selfish he's being, saying that during the engagement conversation the previous winter, he promised to wait until after she was married to propose if she got engaged first. She demands he and I sit down and talk with her, and I have to explain why we're moving forward, demanding I be the one to do the speaking. Kay says we would sit and talk only if her fiancé was also there, which she adamantly refused to agree to. She ultimately attempts to cancel her wedding, saying it wasn't worth going into debt over it, and we won. This wasn't a competition for us. We just wanted to celebrate our love and our future too. Ultimately, V realizes she can't cancel her wedding when she calls the venue, and they tell her she would still owe them money. She discovers she will be out of the thousands she had already put down in deposits. She's already maxing out her credit cards, emptying bank accounts, and asking family for money. All this happens, and Kay hasn't even proposed yet. The week he plans to propose, V sends an email to Kay, their dad, and their other sister, D. In it, she lays out all of her grievances and how they have all failed her. Before their mom passed away, V claims she was promised they would help pay for their wedding. Their dad is on a very tight budget in his retirement and has been putting off a joint replacement for the last 2 years. V tells him that she was there for him while he mourned their mom and knows how much is in his bank account, informing him that unless he takes money out of his savings to pay, he's dead to her. No one understands how hard it is to plan a wedding without their mom. Mine died 15 years ago. She then gives all 3 of them additional ultimatums. Again, do not propose. To their dad and D, she also tells them that if they do anything to support, celebrate with, or go to our engagement party, they are out of her wedding and dead to her. Kay proposed, and I said yes. His dad and D did not attend our party. This was hard on Kay, watching my family happily fly out to us, decorate our house, and really support us when his family couldn't drive the 20 minutes to celebrate. He was happy they were there, but it hurt that his family was not. When the holidays came, D, who lives in another state, flew back here for them. While she was here, Kay invited the whole family over to do an early Christmas with us and to have a small celebration because we were going to be going out of town to celebrate with my family. V and her fiance never responded. When Christmas came, we got her gifts, which she never opened and were eventually returned to us. V even cornered D at one point during the holiday to ask why D hadn't taken money from their dad so she could fly in for her bachelorette party. After the holidays, Kay still tried going over to their dads to spend time with him. During one visit, V showed up and refused to sit in the same room as him. They pressured their dad to sit in the living room with her, and he chose to go and sit with her, leaving Kay alone in the kitchen until he left. Their dad is so afraid of not being able to walk V down the aisle that he's given in to every one of her demands, and it's gotten to the point that we no longer go over to his house. Kay had hip surgery a month later. I went with him to take care of him and bring him home. As asked, I updated his family during this time, including V. Days after his surgery, she sends him a text, the first time she's reached out since we got engaged, to inform him she's blocking his and my number. She doesn't care how he's doing or how he's recovering. None of it matters. While he's recovering, we receive an invitation to the V wedding. It's addressed only to him. We've been living together for years and have been together longer than she and her fiancé have been. Eventually, Kay opens the invitation but doesn't RSVP. After everything, he's not sure if we should go or not. She hasn't spoken to us in 5 months. Last week, their dad reached out on behalf of V, asking Kay if he could RSVP so V could have an accurate headcount. Kay says he's not sure if we're going, mentioning how I was excluded on the invite and how he's concerned that I've not been invited. He also mentions how he wishes that V would reach out as well. Their dad follows up with V, who then gets mad at him and Kay for this, explaining that she didn't address the envelopes. The way her bridesmaid addressed the envelope is correct for an unmarried couple living together, and I am listed on their website as a guest. Kay talked to me about attending her wedding 2 days ago. He asked for my thoughts and opinions about what to do. We both agree we aren't in the wrong if we choose not to go. We also agree that if we do not, this will be the end of the relationship, and we will be down in the book as the bad guys in this story. He stressed wanting to go because it is family, and when we discussed getting engaged ourselves all those months ago, we agreed that no matter what V chose to do, we weren't the ones closing the door on this relationship. So with that in mind, we decided we were going to go to the wedding, and he RSVP'd last night. The wedding is next month, and I'm really not sure how I feel about going. Kay wants to go, and I will 100% support him. If I'm honest, my guard is already up, and I'm mentally preparing to pull us out of there in the first sign of trouble. Now some comments. Obviously, I don't know your sister-in-law, but do you really want a relationship with her? She sounds awful. And another user says, life is uncertain. You cannot allow someone else to dictate the timing of your major life events. It's sad that his sister-in-law is so insecure that she has caused so much damage. She also emotionally blackmailed her father and sister. Well, what should Opie do? Tell me in the comments. Now for the second story. Everyone else is gifted money, cars, services, and dental care. They pay for things for their extended families that they move away from. All of my dad's parents and siblings have needed financial help at times. They support his dad monthly. I've seen my mom unconditionally support my dad after he did things like max out 4 Shell station gas cards, assigned to each member of our family on gas station lottery scratchers. I was the only child driving at that time, and I was accused daily of doing this. They had to pay Shell back a lot of money when the truth came out. I did not get an apology, and my mom started making me give her receipts every time I used them, even though my dad was the only one running up the bill. He got bailed out of becoming addicted to gas station caffeine pills. I'm not saying I wish my mom hadn't helped him. I'm just saying I saw these things, and so I thought my parents were generous, kind people who supported relatives in need. I became in need of financial support recently after a divorce, COVID, and changing careers. I thought my parents would help me, like I had seen them help their extended family. But no, my parents made me sign a contract to pay them back before they would give me this desperately needed money. I just paid them back the final $240 that they insisted on collecting while I am unemployed, sick, and stressed by my landlord not fixing the snake hole nest of a property that I live on. While my partner's family is bankrolling our rent, I can focus on finding a better job. I ended my marriage with $33,000 in debt because my ex had paid off all my student loans in the first year of our marriage. I had that much debt because my dad got his master's and specialist degrees in the 4 years that I was in high school. Stress from grad school while working and coaching full-time were reasons for the gas station addictions. There was no money for me. They refused to co-sign on cheap off-campus housing because they were scared, so I was forced to take out loans for $1,200 per month plus the $600 per month required meal plans for living on campus. Now, to be fair, my parents have helped some. They asked me to create a spreadsheet of all my debt in 2 countries. I did so. They gave me $1,200 to give my ex-boyfriend, who had helped me after my divorce, and $1,200 to pay one debt, while charging me $400 monthly rent to stay with them in between apartments. I was extremely grateful for this help, as I always am. But why am I the only relative to pay them back? I have asked point blank this question now, and here are the responses I've been given. My marriage didn't fail. You are ungrateful. We only needed help when we had children, and you didn't have children. You are ungrateful. You're the only one who can afford to pay us back. You are ungrateful. This way, you won't feel guilty or like you owe relatives money. You are ungrateful. It's hard to be grateful for loans when everyone else gets gifts. I'm drowning. What should I do? This OP is in a really awkward situation. Tell me in the comments below what you think they should do. Now, for the next story. My husband and I were on a popular mountain that a lot of people hike and take pictures on. I normally take my own photos with my standing tripod because I do content creation for work. I was by a cliff, and I was taking videos and pictures of myself in the view. My husband was standing a few feet away from me, watching. All of a sudden, 2 men with an accent walked up to me. I couldn't understand them at first, but it sounded like they wanted me to move out of their way. So I grabbed my tripod and was getting ready to leave, and the men stopped me and were like, "No, come here. We want to take a picture with you." I gave them a nervous laugh, shook my head, and turned to look at my husband, who was standing there. The men continued on saying they wanted a picture with me because I was so pretty and were holding their arms out for me to take it. At this point, I had one man behind me and the other in front of me, so I felt cornered. I told them, "No, I'm okay," and they continued on asking to take a picture with me. I looked over at my husband, who was still standing about 6 feet away, just staring at me and them. I was trying to show that I was so uncomfortable, but my husband wasn't getting the hint. The men didn't even know that my husband was right there, or they knew and didn't care. After what seemed like 5 minutes of back and forth, I eventually built up the courage to walk around the men to get away from them. I went over to my husband, and I said, "Why didn't you say anything?" Those men were being creepy. He just said, "I was shaking my head at them and was hoping you would just walk away. So I'm not sure how to feel about it. I don't feel protected, and I feel worthless of that protection from my husband." Edit. I spoke to my husband. He basically said that he didn't see the situation this way and felt it was unnecessary to step in. After the 3rd time of the guys asking me after I told them no, he said he shook his head at them, and the guy finally looked up and noticed him. But apparently the guys didn't care because they kept asking me. The path I was on was a one-way path, so I had to step around the second guy to walk away, which is why I didn't immediately walk away. I was looking at my husband more than I was looking at them because I felt uncomfortable and was hoping he would say something to me. He also said he was trying to see how I would respond to flirting. I guess you can say I just wanted my husband to be the type to step in and say, "Hey baby, come here." Even just yelling it from afar. It would have been a huge turn on. It would have made me feel taken care of and protected, like the "she is mine, back off" type of feeling. I left the door open for him to do that. But I guess it's just not his personality. It just stinks because I see those prank videos of guys trying to flirt with couples, and the man steps in and says something. I love that. Not everyone's reality is a romance book, I guess. And for our next story. My husband and I used to have a good marriage. I have a lot of work after I moved job roles. We couldn't spend as much time together. I was exhausted and addicted to my phone. Edit. I spent 2 hours a day on my phone. I wasn't cheating on him with my phone. My husband was convinced I was pulling away from him. He confided his worries to a female friend, a woman who was interested in him. She convinced him that I was cheating. He sought refuge with her. She was very manipulative and capitalized on his childhood trauma. It was an emotional affair. Then she kissed him. He told me out of guilt the day before. I was crushed. I had never cheated on him. I had never even thought of another man. He begged me for a second chance. I thought I could move past it because his cheating was not as bad. I have access to his phone, his computer, his location, everything. He gave it to me willingly. I didn't ask. His affair partner flipped out when he told her he confessed and that we were going to try reconciling. He was texting her with my permission because I wanted to know if he was telling the truth. She tried to convince him that I was cheating. Otherwise, I wouldn't have taken him back. Then she said I had no self-esteem. He made no contact with her. After 3 months, we were both in individual and marriage counseling. We were doing well. Then his affair partner and I ran into each other. I don't know if she was stalking me or not. She verbally attacked me before she escalated. I filed a police report. She was arrested and released on bail. However, it will take months before anything happens. I also tried to get a protection order, but it's harder than expected to get one. I found out that she was making TikToks about being the other woman. My husband has been a model husband since then, but my gut tells me to file for divorce. She genuinely scares me. What do I do when my husband has been a model husband since then, but I resent him for bringing her into our lives? How do I stop being terrified of her and looking over my shoulder for the rest of my life? What would you do in OP's shoes? And now, our last story. My 48 male stepson, 18 male, declined all forms of relationship and now has a sudden request for financial assistance. What should I do? Background. I have been with my partner for a long time, and we have 3 children, 20 female, bio, 18 male, and 25 male, step. Having been involved with their lives from a younger age, the blended family concept wasn't as easy as I imagined. Children are smarter than you think and focus well on their surrounding environment. I would describe my relationship with the older son as very good. He initially was cautious and didn't trust me, which is normal, but now we're quite close and open with each other. The youngest, not so much. I did not want to pressure him to like me or accept me, so the process was very gradual. As a kid, I wasn't too keen on activities, and he acted like, "I wish you would go away now." And occasionally, in public settings, he referred to me by various terms, like he didn't know who I was. Or referring to me like, he is a guy with my mom, to sometimes mom's boyfriend, despite already being married at the time. I'm assuming he viewed the term boyfriend with some more favorable meaning or significance back then. My wife tried too during that time, but he had already made up his mind even at that age, and I never took it in a negative light. Normal step-parent situations. As he grew older, it's been more formal and surface level, basically whatever is strictly necessary and pretty much that. At 15 years of age, he said it's not about me specifically, but I'm just not a parental figure to him, and I ought to establish a clear boundary. He's not interested in any conversation with me, no discussion, nothing. I'm a person who's sharing the living location, nothing more. And given that I'm not a parent, I have no business getting involved in any major decisions of this. He's going to decide what's best for himself. That was admittedly very difficult for me, but nonetheless, I eventually agreed to this boundary. Essentially, if there is a decision or general life situation, he doesn't ask for my advice, nor do I provide said advice to begin with. You do, because I'm just the man who happens to live here, and so I don't get a say in any of that. Again, as hard as it was to hear those words, I did agree. He wants nothing to do with me and has announced clearly and directly as much. It doesn't get simpler than that. And me and my wife felt that he was old enough to be making such a decision, and if that's what he wants, then so be it. It's not something I've done, it's just the way it is. For additional context, my eldest has at least made an effort to understand my point of view and allowed me to be some part of his world, even if we sometimes disagree. I recognize that this effort begins with me, and it isn't their obligation. But we eventually worked it out together to develop a strong mutual bond in a way that I couldn't with my other son. He and our daughter get along super well too. They are quite simply siblings in every sense of the term, though her and the youngest are somewhat of a different story. At least he does converse with her in regular terms and not legalese, but you can tell they don't like to be in the same room or spend more than about 10 to 15 minutes together before a verbal fight emerges. Now for the financial part of the story. My partner and I have worked together to provide what I would describe as a comfortable life for all of them. They've gotten pretty much what they wanted, within reason, of course, and we were fortunate enough to support our eldest and our daughter through higher education. I've been really involved in that process and provided help and guidance along the way, just like any parent would, meaning there was communication and back-and-forth dialogue. Fast forward to now, the youngest is in the planning for college phase. Naturally, I provided no input. He was free to choose whatever educational path he wished for and do whatever he wanted. This includes what subjects he finds himself interested in, what stuff he's applying to, the whole deal. None of my business, and specifically per his request to not interfere with his life. However, he expects me to foot the bill. All of it. I was taken aback by this, considering his decline to interact with me in any meaningful way for such a lengthy period of time. You don't want a relationship with me. That's fine. I understand, and I won't push the matter any further. But now you demand a relationship with my wallet? That's not going to happen so quickly, and I informed him I'm not his personal ATM. Maybe the comment was unjustified in hindsight, but it was in the heat of the moment. He flipped, declaring that I'd never been there for him, wasn't there for his big moments, was generally apathetic, and what really struck me as odd was that he claims that I was a financial abuser. Now you're free to label me whatever you wish. I don't care. But an abuser? After all this time? I wasn't having any of it, of course, and I told him essentially, I'm not going to entertain his fantasy world. I'm no longer his bank account, and if he thinks he's with an abuser, he's welcome to actually do something useful, get paid, and get out of here if that's what he thinks. Which I knew he wasn't going to do. Yeah, we totally got burned out 24/7 and reached our breaking points multiple times to be able to maintain a decent life and needs of 3 kids at once, and now he calls me an abuser. Now, I'm conflicted. My partner thinks I kind of overreacted, made unnecessary comments, and could have phrased my viewpoint a bit better, but is neutral on the college situation. She says anybody who goes through what I've had to deal with and then gets thrown an outright proclamation like this would feel the same way. This is basically somebody telling you the equivalent of, yo, duck you. Also, hey, bro, you got a few $1,000s? Thanks. Bye, straight to your face. But at the same time, it's already a tense situation. He might not deserve it, but this amounts to choosing a golden child and ignoring the rest. And if there was any hope in the metaphorical door being left open slightly, it's now permanently shut off. So treat it as a moment of rage but not follow through. We do things sometimes because we have to, not because we want to. But I'm just confused. I don't know what to do anymore. Are those the actions of somebody who wants me? Am I even a human in all this? Or just a computer terminal where you press the denomination and out comes the cash? Can you hurt someone so deeply? He let it be known in no uncertain terms that he actively do not welcome my presence, to all but duck off, and yet have the courage to even make such a demand of me. That's all for this video. Please like and subscribe. It will be much appreciated.